Hey guys, welcome to Ryan's Running Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at a stability shoe from On. It's the Cloudflyer 4. Let's run with it. Before we get started, I do want to say these shoes were provided to me by Roadrunner Sports. However, they didn't have a chance to preview this video, and this file synopsis is my own. I'd also like to say please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing. Here we go. According to On, the Cloudflyer 4 is a max cushion stability daily trainer really geared towards those medium distance runs. Now this shoe, while it looks very similar to last year, did get some significant upgrades. It's going to be a little bit larger and have a little bit more to it compared to previous versions. And because this shoe does have some more components added to it, it did go up in weight almost a full ounce, coming in at 10.9 ounces. Now as far as the stack height goes, this was a little bit confusing. I called up On, and according to them, it's 29 in the heel, 18 in the forefoot for 10mm drop, but their website says it has a 10mm drop. So we'll call it like a 10-11mm drop, and apparently this is a slight increase over last year. So we do get a little bit more to the midsole, and the upper does have a few more elements added to it as well, and we'll go into that further on in the review. But the big story here is this does get slightly heavier, about a full ounce heavier, now coming in again at that 10.9 ounce mark. And another thing I do want to mention is that according to On, about 35 to 40% of the materials used to make this shoe came from recycled components, with most of the recycled content being found in the upper. And speaking of the upper, we have a two material approach, with the front half being a very breathable, very soft and comfortable engineered mesh that's supported by these very strong plastic overlays, especially in the toe guard region. Then as you move towards the back of the shoe, kind of from the midfoot backwards, you have this synthetic closed off material that's not breathable at all, and this is kind of geared towards, or the goal of it is to really keep a good lockdown towards the middle of your foot. As far as the fit and comfort goes, I will say this shoe does fit true to size. However, with one caveat, while it's good in length, it is going to be a little bit narrow as you get towards the top of the toe box, and that rather hard plastic toe guard is noticeable. The other thing I'll say is it's kind of a tale of two stories. Like I mentioned before, a very breathable front half of the shoe. However, the back part and with that really thick tongue, it is going to be a slightly warmer experience. So the front half, very breathable, and then the back half is going to be a lot more closed off. The tongue is well padded, non-gusseted, kind of wish it was, and integrates directly into that front half of engineered mesh with a very seamless, consistent feel. Now I will say the tongue did move around a lot because it wasn't gusseted, kind of wish it was, but other than that, I thought it was quite comfortable. As far as the lockdown goes, there's two things I really want to highlight because I thought the lockdown here was superb. The first is the lacing system, which has been upgraded. It comes down a little bit further, now has this star lacing pattern towards the front of the shoe, giving you a little bit more lace coverage. The next is the redesigned ankle, Achilles, and heel counter section. This has been beefed up a little bit. You have a ton of padding back here with a really well-built plastic heel cup that keeps your heel locked in, and it does come up rather high. So all of that being said, this is a very secure, very locked in experience, and that kind of pairs in with a very tight toe box. So I thought my foot was basically locked into the shoe. It's not a shoe you can easily slip off, and once you have it on your foot, it's not going anywhere, which is kind of a huge plus for me, and I really did enjoy the lock, fit, and comfort here. And just like how the upper is a tale of two stories, the same thing can be said for the midsole, and it's quite easy to see. The front half is going to be the softer super foam called Helion, and the back half is going to be the more dense zero gravity foam. So blue foam can be a little bit more dense and a little bit harder, and the gray foam towards the front can be a little bit softer. Now if you're not familiar with On shoes, they do things quite differently. They have these individual kind of pods or units which they call CloudTech units, and then these CloudTech units are made up of a wide variety of foams, and in this case we have the Helion and zero gravity foam. And the other thing they do have on most, if not all, of their shoes is something called a speed board, which you can see right here in the middle, which is a plastic plate that runs the length of the shoe. It's supposed to stiffen things up, make it a little bit snappier, and also disperse your energy across all those CloudTech units. And something I always have to bring up with these kind of midsoles is things always get stuck in these little CloudTech units, so like the perfect size for acorns, rocks, or other pieces of debris. And I think they try to mitigate that by closing off the forefoot and making the inside holes a little bit smaller, but you will probably get things stuck in there and have to kind of clean them out every once in a while. It's the one downside with having this rather unique cushioning technology. Because the Cloudflyer 4 is a stability shoe, I do want to explain how it provides its support. It does this by taking advantage of the dual density foams. If we flip the shoe over, you can take a look at this blue zero gravity foam, which is the more dense, more supportive foam, and you can notice how it comes up a little bit further on the medial side. Now what this does is it gives you a little bit more guidance for those who tend to pronate or roll inwards. Basically the softer foam on the lateral side has a little bit more give than the more dense foam on the medial side, thus creating some inherent stability for those who pronate or again roll inwards. It's kind of a creative solution, and it's why the shoe kind of has this J-like shape. Now it also has a little bit of supination support because it comes up a little bit on the lateral side, but it is more geared towards those who kind of pronate or roll inwards because it comes up a little bit further on that medial side, kind of acting almost like a medial post in a kind of a unique way, just because it wraps all the way around the back half of the shoe. So in my experience, this shoe absolutely accomplishes its goal of being a stability daily trainer, keeps your foot going in the right direction, supports you very well, and you have a great lockdown across the upper with that very strong heel counter. The area I kind of wasn't so impressed with was the front half of the shoe. It wasn't as fun as I was expecting. So it's the same kind of foam we see, that Helion foam we see on the On Cloudmonster, which has those really large Cloudtech units, and it doesn't feel anything like that. I was kind of expecting a similar forefoot experience to what I saw with the On Cloudmonster, and it just didn't turn out to be like that. I think that's because the On Cloud units here are a little bit smaller, and then also too, you kind of have to factor in the speed board, which is that plastic plate that runs under your foot. So basically it goes your foot, shoe insert, plastic speed board, and then the midsole. So that plastic speed board is basically right next to your foot, and you feel that more than anything else. And if the midsole isn't super soft or energetic, you'll kind of notice that very firm, very dense experience more than anything else. And that was my experience here with the On Cloudflyer. So overall, what did I like about the On Cloudflyer 4? Well, first off, I thought the lockdown was superb. My foot wasn't going anywhere, and I felt very connected to this platform. The next thing I really liked was the breathability of the toe box. Nice level of airflow in, was fairly comfortable. The next thing is, I think it looks quite stylish. This is probably one of my favorite looking running shoes. It just looks like a nice lifestyle shoe or performance shoe as well. It's kind of something that can do a little bit of both, and I can kind of say the same thing for most On shoes. I think they're probably one of the most stylish brands out there. And the last thing is, this shoe was incredibly stable. You do have that rather firm forefoot experience, and then like we talked about, the J shape here with the dual density foam setup, I thought it did an excellent job of keeping me well supported and providing guidance when I needed it. So overall, a very firm ride and quite enjoyable to wear. It felt very comfortable. So what do I think that they could improve? Well, the first thing is, I wish the toe box was a little bit less restricting. I hope they'd open it up and provide a little bit more room up there. The next thing is, I wish the forefoot had a little bit more softness to it, or a little bit more liveliness. It just felt like a very dense experience. I didn't get that much out of it. And the last thing is, these large holes, that they could figure out some way to keep stuff from falling into them, and I think they've kind of done that by closing off the forefoot and making the internal holes here a little bit smaller. But still, you always find rocks and material in the shoes or On shoes when you're running in them. So if they could fix those things, I think that would go a long way in making sure you don't have to kind of keep picking rocks and debris out of it. And the last thing is, this is going to be a relatively heavy shoe coming in at 11 ounces. I know they beefed it up quite a bit here with this version, adding some new material to the upper, a little bit of a thicker midsole and whatnot. But I think there's some things they could probably do to kind of bring that weight down, maybe a little bit less material with this plastic heel guard, or just some other various elements. It is going to be a little bit heavy compared to some other stability shoes out there, even though stability shoes kind of do run towards the heavier side of things. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think of the On Cloudflyer 4, and what do you think of On and their technology in general? I'd love to hear from you. Well, I'm Ryan from Ryan's Running Reviews, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.